today's session to our host and facilitator, Devavrat Vaidya. Devavrat, please take over.
Thank you, Sujata. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everyone. I'm Devavrat Vaidya, part of OMPIC volunteering team. OMPIC stands for Overseas Maharashtrian Professionals and Entrepreneurs Group, a community-based business networking group founded in April 2016 by leading influencers and entrepreneurs within the UK. The idea was to inculcate a spirit of entrepreneurship within Maharashtrian community, specifically from the UK, to connect professionals and encourage them for entrepreneurship. OMPEG is a membership organization, which means people pay fees here and contribute to the growth and initiatives by OMPEG. There are over 150 fee-paying members, which include a variety of professionals and entrepreneurs. Details regarding becoming a member will be posted in the chat window. We are very proud to say that 40% of OMPEG members are women who are first generation entrepreneurs. In the last 5 years, OMPEG has organized 40 plus high value events, including 2 mega business expos attended by nearly 2,000 people. Needless to say, the expos were a high success. Until now, more than 5,000 people have attended OMPEG events across the UK. In 2019-2020, OMPEG started collaboration with High Commission of India and many other industry bodies with the idea to inspire many more Maharashtrians to do more in their professions and their businesses. The goal was to also raise the profile of UK-based Maharashtrian business leadership, and we're proud to say that OMPEG has successfully done that. Just a few months back, we started our Midlands chapter to take advantage of thriving region of Midlands with an aim of providing the opportunity for professionals and entrepreneurs across the UK. We have Midlands team, organizing team online, and you can identify the volunteers by seeing the OMPEG Midlands in their name. If you want to know more about OMPEG, please visit our website, ompeg.org.uk. If you wish to become OMPEG member, we will put the details in the chat window. On a personal note, I highly recommend becoming a member, as I personally continue to benefit immensely from being part of OMPEG family. In order to connect with everyone already on the OMPEG, please download OMPEG's very own app called My OMPEG app, which is available on both iOS and Android. Anyone can download, connect, and engage, but special content privileges are given to fee-paying members only. So that was about OMPEG. Now let's move on to today's webinar, Career and Beyond. A lot of us derive a sense of achievement, success, and self-identity from our careers. And yet many of us are unfulfilled and, dare I say, slowly burning out in our existing careers. The question of what next lingers in our mind even after reaching professional goals and heights. Research shows that having more than just a professional career helps one with not only personal development, broadening the network, and deriving creative solutions, but also fulfillment and hence the overall well-being. With that in mind, OMPEG Midland chapter is ecstatic to announce the launch of a new series, Career and Beyond, a conversation series with some of OMPEG members who are exploring new horizons in different directions in addition to their successful professional careers. This series will aim to provide everyone with stories to explore, lessons to learn, and inspiration to spread. The purpose of this conversation series is to hear from distinguished professionals from UK-based Maharashtrian community to inspire everyone to go beyond their professional careers. Through the series, we will aim to cover the professionals from a very broad range of industries and businesses. Today, as the world is grappling with COVID pandemic, what better way to derive the inspiration from than our very own medical professionals who have relentlessly, tirelessly, and selflessly fought this unprecedented global health crisis. For today's inaugural event, we are honored to have 3 OMPEGian medical professionals with distinguished achievements. To start with, we have Dr. Anupama Shrotri, an oncoplastic breast surgeon, and a first Asian to be director of breast screening in Liverpool. In addition, she's active in theater as an actor, director, and playwright, as well as a singer, poet, and an experienced compere. She's trained a singer and a member of Indian choir, Bharatiya Vrindagan, in UK, active since 2013, which performed at Wembley Stadium to welcome Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She's General Secretary of Milap Cultural Organization in Liverpool and a committee member of Northwest Marathi Association. She's one of the founding members of the two charities, Friend for Quest UK and Avishka Performing Arts, and also a committee member of Hemalaksha Health Foundation. Welcome, Anupama. We also have Dr. Ninad Thakare, a successful ophthalmologist for over 30 years and a health informatician later in his career. Ninad went on to become a magistrate, Justice of Peace, appointed by the Lord Chancellor on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen in 2017. In addition to his work, both primary, professional, and beyond, he has been involved in cultural and social activities in South Wales. He is a writer, screenplay writer, and a playwright for commercially successful musicals like 100 Years of Bollywood and Yahoo, The Karishma of Shammi Kapoor. He has also written and directed a few Marathi Ekankikas. He, with a close-knit group of friends, organized the 9th European Marathi Sammelan in Cardiff in 2012. His other interests are Urdu Shairi, YouTubing, light singing, comparing, and painting. Welcome, Ninad. And finally, we also have Dr. Nitish Raud, who is a consultant gynecologist working in NHS Trust and private hospitals. Having completed his medical degree and post-graduation from Mumbai in India, he finished his specialist training in obstetrics and gynecology in UK in 2014. He's an examiner in General Medical Council and Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. He's an elected councillor from the Royal Town of Sutton Coldfield. He's also the deputy chairman of Sutton Coldfield Conservative Association. He has established Indians for West Midlands with a view to increase Indian interaction in UK politics. He works closely with policymakers, members of parliament, mayor, and diplomats to further this cause. Welcome, Nitish. Now, with an engineer facilitating a discussion with 3 doctors, one can be forgiven for thinking conversation will be science dominated. But we will not discuss medical or engineering science. Instead, in today's discussion, we'll try to gain some interesting insights by exploring various aspects of the career and beyond journey of our panelists. With their extracurricular expertise in such a wide-ranging topics, from dance, music, painting, and writing, all the way to the public service in the form of charities, justice, and consular services, we will be catering for the interest appetite of a large number of people. So without further ado, let's get started with the discussion with our panel. If I can start with you, Anupama, first, can you please highlight us the key milestones on your career and beyond journey so far, please?
Thank you very much, Devvrat, and it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. Thank you for this initiative as well. I'm really honored to be here today. So to answer your question, yes, the journey, when you look back now at the age that I am, the journey does seem quite long. And to trace it from the beginning, I think I'll divide it into medical and the other activities that I do. So medical journey was fairly straightforward. I knew very early on that I wanted to become a surgeon. In fact, when I was about 6 years old, and I did not waver from that decision. And duly, I did well academically, so I got into medicine and then was accepted in a surgical training program. And that was, a very sort of straightforward trajectory. I think coming to UK was to be an adventure for us, me and my husband, to come here 4 or 5 years, get fellowship, FRCS, and then go back. And then, as fate would have it, my husband was offered an opportunity that we could not turn down, and then we ended up staying in this country. And because I had never planned for that, I had to start from scratch at that point to build up my career, to stay here permanently. So that was a bit of a struggle. Obviously, perseverance and hard work um, finally got me to the position that I wanted to be. And I'm an oncoplastic breast surgeon, and I derive immense pleasure from my profession. And just recently, I've become a director for breast screening in Liverpool, which is a responsibility, but a challenge that I enjoy. So that was my professional trajectory. Um, in terms of my beyond career, as you have put it, uh, well, it started very early on. I was fortunate enough to be born in a family where art, culture, theater, singing, literature, reading, poetry, all these were, I've grown up with. So both my parents are writers, published writers. My father was a poet. Both my parents sang very well. So I had that growing up. So I started sort of my musical training in classical music quite early on, and also got introduced to theater very early on. In fact, I wrote my first play when I was probably about 11 or 12 years old, and also acted in it, and was awarded and appreciated for it. So I've done theater all my life. I've done light music. After 4 or 5 years of classical training, I've done light music, and I've continued doing that even after coming to this country. So both theater and music have followed me everywhere. They give me a lot of pleasure. Comparing just fell into my lap because I have got stage experience. So I frequently get asked to compare. Storytelling is something that again came into my life. I think I have to thank a couple of friends for involving me in it, which I immensely enjoy. Charities is something that Milind and I have consciously, my husband and I have consciously chosen to do over the last 15 years. We are part of various charities, and we do a lot of fundraising for them. So I think in a nutshell, that has been the journey so far.
Thank you, Anupama. That sounds like the roots of your professional as well as beyond journey were rooted right at your childhood. So thank you for sharing that. Nitish, taking the similar question to you as well, can you give us an overview of how your journey has been so far?
Yes, something similar. Born and brought up in Mumbai, Dadar, Mumbai. Went to some local colleges like Roya. Did my MBBS from JJ Hospital, MD from SAN. Worked there as a lecturer. While working there and I was presenting there, I just happened to meet some professor from UK, and he says, "Why don't you come and join us?" I said, "You give me a job, I'll come and join you." And I came here and became a registrar. And when I started working, I realized that it's relatively, what I would say, easy to enter into the training. I mean, not easy, but yes, you can easily climb up the ladder. So I started training again and became a consultant in 2014. And since then, I'm working as a consultant in Stoke-on-Trent. Regarding this, when I was in India, I was kind of secretary for Marathi Vangmay Mandal or some local small organizations. When I tried to stand for local elections in the medical college, the common thing that every parent says, "Ki Adi abhyas kar, mag rajkaran kar." Means you study first and then think about politics and all that stuff took place. So study never gets completed. So nothing happened then. But when I came here, got an opportunity while I was doing some local, what I would say, social work, organizing street cleaning or say some projects, tree plantation in and around the place where we lived. I got an opportunity to enter politics. I formally joined a party, Conservative Party, climbed up the ladder, and when the election came, they asked me, "Why don't you stand for councillor?" And there you go. I am a councillor now.
Sounds very interesting, Nitish. Thank you.
Thank you
For sharing that. Ninath, how did your journey unfold? The journey of your medical professional as well as being a magistrate in UK. I think you're on mute, Ninath.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the Midlands chapter and OMPEG for inviting me on this platform. It's an honor. And kudos to the two previous speakers, Anupama and Nitish. Their careers have been really fascinating so far. For me, it has been a very complex sort of journey. So please bear with me. I would like to go through it as quickly as I can. As both my co-speakers said, after a formal education in medicine, having completed the post-graduation, my wife and I, who is a gynecologist and a fertility specialist, we both decided to join the Maharashtra Medical Health Services and to serve in a rural community and serve out our bond. As we are from JJ Hospital, we had a bond. So we went down to Third Konkan, Sindhudurga, and we were posted in a beautiful village called Shiroda. Visa Khandekar used to teach in Shiroda.
Yeah.
So it was an idyllic place to be. And you saw, we are both city people. We had a 1-year-old daughter. We saw village life from close quarters. The patients were absolutely, in awe of us, or rather, they used to worship us. And we used to get gifts from them like narak and cashews, 4 cashews, 5 cashews, one narak, and things like that. And you also had these wily, petty politicians who used to be there to check on your slip-ups. So this was going on quite well till I hit a major roadblock with my health, and that meant that at the age of 26, I had to make a decision to come down to Mumbai to be close to medical facilities. And in with Maharashtra Medical Health Services, you could be posted anywhere. So I was posted in a police dispensary. So I worked with the police of Mumbai. I was posted in a mental hospital. So I worked with mental patients in Mumbai. And I also was practicing ophthalmology. And at that time, I also had an opportunity to become an occupational health physician. So I was an occupational health physician for Cadbury's India.
Okay.
For almost 4 to 5 years, I was their occupational health physician. And then we wanted to, broaden our horizons. Our daughter was coming up to 10 years of age. So we thought, why not try and see whether we can get some more education and some exposure to Western medicine as well. So we came to the UK, and as previous speakers have said, we came here only for 4 years. We wanted to go back, get the fellowship, and go back, but 4 became 24, and now it's become 26. So how the time went, we really don't know.
Clearly, Nirad, you have come up right from the grassroots levels and worked at so many different levels. I was almost tempted to ask you, when you were talking about working with Cadbury, did you get lots of chocolates to eat?
And no, I just got the smell of chocolates. I was not allowed to eat chocolates on the premises. But anyway, just to carry on with my story, because it will take a little bit of time, not much, I hope. I again had a major medical hiccup in 2007, and uh, at that time, I was introduced to a discipline which was new to medicine and to information technology as well, and it was called healthcare informatics, which is a marriage of healthcare with information technology. So I had a parallel career as a healthcare informatician with the NHS Wales Informatics Service for 6 years. And I helped design what is now called as the Welsh Clinical Portal, which is a gateway for information for clinicians, for patients. And after that, in 213, I think, I had one more major medical problem. And that was sort of a little bit too much for my body to accept. And finally, in 2015, I decided to hang up my boots as a doctor, and I took retirement. But having taken retirement, I didn't know what to do with my time. So I joined Age Concern, which is a charitable organization which helps old people to get on well with their life. So I used to go and visit people in the society and help them with certain aspects, especially use of iPads and stuff like that. And then a close friend, I've been very lucky with friends. A close friend introduced me to this magistracy, and I was not aware that a person who is not trained in the legal profession could become a judge, a magistrate in this country. So she asked me, why don't you explore it? So I did that, and I found that it was fascinating. So after an application process which was very grueling and two very difficult interviews, I was appointed as a magistrate in this country. So that's as far as my career goes. And the other part, the cultural part, I've been doing plays and writing plays for a long time. In Southwest Wales, I've been arranging music programs and getting plays, etc. Being a part of the Indian society over here. And when I was ill, a close friend again came to my help, and he asked me to write the screenplay for a production that he was going to do on the life of Shammi Kapoor. So I wrote Yahoo, the Karishma of Shammi Kapoor, which was produced, professionally. And after that, I went on to write 100 Days of Bollywood for him, which again was produced professionally. The same gentleman brought a show to the UK called Ghazal Ka Safar, and he asked me to become the compere of that show, which had two UK tours, and that ignited my interest in Urdu. And from there, I started reading, learning about Urdu, and I started my YouTube channel, Sher o Nazm o Ghazal, Baaton Baaton Mein, where I learn Urdu along with other people. So this is what I have been doing.
That is indeed quite fascinating, Ninath, and that's quite multifaceted as well, what you've just described us. So thank you for sharing us with that. Let's explore a little further on why you all felt the need for Beyond and your choices of Beyond activities as well. Nitish, in spite of having that such a successful professional career, why did you want to be a counselor?
Thank you, Ninath. It's really impressive about what you have said and your journey so far. Reminds me of my MOship days when we had to do 1 year of MOship. We initially went reluctantly, but came back very happy. It gave us a completely different experience. So I can understand, I resonate with your feelings. And in terms of Anupama, hats off to you as well. You've done really well being an oncoplastic and being such a busy homemaker, housewife, not housewife, like a main person of the family doing everything. It's just fantastic. Regarding Devvrat, regarding your question about the counselor, what prompted me to become a counselor was I never thought about it as such. What happened was I used to do some social work, in the sense I would go to my local area, and all of us take good care of our house, our garden, and maybe the footpath or the road outside our house. But if all of us come together, then we can make a huge difference. So I managed to speak to some people, of which 3 or 4 of them joined, and we cleaned the whole street.
Wow.
That was like an eye-opener for the whole, what I would say, people along the streets. And so next time when we did a project, we said, let's go and clean up the park over there. Some people were saying, oh, it's a council responsibility. They were allowing them to skive off. I said, those who want to come. I'm going to go there. And many people turned up. And we managed to get about 50 bags of garbage. that got us noticed when the local councillor came and said that that's what people complain to me, but it's a fantastic, and that was reported in the local media. Then I did some small garden parties as well when the Queen's Silver Jubilee event a year was there. They had given, the process was quite complex to fill the form. We filled in, we got the money, we had all communities together. So this is where the Conservative Party came in and approached me and said, why don't you join the party? I said, I've never given it a thought. But then I said, let's give it a try. I joined the party, and they gave me 2 or 3 projects which were very pedantic, very complex. Like that's the time I realized the amount of efforts that big organizations have to take to get even a small tree which has been fallen in the wrong place to clear it up. So we did 2 or 3 projects where there were wrong traffic lights or some things which could just have a small alterations and it worked. And it's quite pedantic, but working in NHS, I mean, Anupama and Ninad would agree with me, you know how to work around the blocks. So we did that. And that kind of got me, I think, they asked me to join the executive committee. I joined it, I became a deputy chairman. When the first elections came in, they said, why don't you stand for elections? I was like, wow, I'm not prepared for being all elections and everything. But then I remembered Dera Bhagwat's words, the writer of Faster Fading. He says that if you fail, then it's okay. It's acceptable. But if you don't try, then that's criminal. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So I said, let me give it a go. And we stood for the elections, put in loads of efforts, and unfortunately lost by about, what I would say, 100 votes. As a result of this.
That was close then.
Yes, exactly. So what we did was we identified, the next elections, the party was very particular that no, Nitish, you should stand for election. I said, no, I've given it a go, it should be fine. They said, before you kind of write it off, why don't you give one more go? And then we identified all the people who had not voted. And we realized there were about 62 Indian families who didn't go out and vote. And I knew that if they go out and vote, they would vote for me. So simple as that. So my main aim was to get them out to vote. We got them out and we won next elections. We won massively.
That's great.
And after I became a councillor, then I thought, well, this is the way you can unite the Indian community, because we are so patriotic at heart, all of us Indians, that we create mini India wherever we go. So Maharashtrians, Telugus, Tamils, Gujaratis, we need some force which will bind together as a common Indian, the way we are back in India. And this is how I started working with Indian diplomats, MPs. Last elections, we supported about 7 MPs, of which 6 got elected, where Indian votes would have made a huge difference. We did some fundraising for them. We did, what I would say, I worked closely with the mayor. I mean, even we've come to Coventry so many times.
Yeah.
It was only who had said, he's not Andy Street, he's Anand Rao Raste Patil, because of Andy Street. So that has united the community significantly. So next step was Indians for West Midlands, like a formal unity. So this is where, what I would say, became a councillor, and this is where I am now.
It sounds like, Nitish, what started as a small social activities flourishing into a full successful political career now for you, which is great to hear that, really. Ninad, why did you want to be a magistrate in parallel being a successful medical professional?
When you go for your magistrate interview, or even the application process, one of the questions is, why do you want to become a magistrate? And in the application process, you can write whatever you want. But when you're being interviewed, and the first interview goes on for about an hour and a half, there are 3 people interviewing you, and you have got no clue about the subject as such. Though you have tried to read up something or look up on the internet and things like that. So the main thing that came to my mind was that I would, like anybody else, like to live in a society which is governed by laws, and everybody, as they ask for rights, they should also have some responsibilities, and those things can be managed by law. And if you follow the law, all these things can fall into place. And if there is an opportunity for me to join an organization which is 650 years old, by the way, And it is unique for the UK because lay people like me, you know, I have no formal training in law, but lay people like me can, or like all of us probably, barring all the lawyers over here, if there are any, uh, anybody can join the magistracy.
Mm.
All you need is that you need to have a sound character. You need to be aware of your social issues all around you. You need to have a personality where you are not biased in any way. You need to have some maturity. You need to be able to make decisions, weigh decisions properly. So I thought that given my experience in the NHS and the medical field, I've been used to making complex decisions. So probably I might stand a chance, of doing something for the society over here, because Karma Bhumi, you've got to.
Sure.
This is basically a voluntary work. This is not paid. So it's like giving back something to the society that has given you so much.
Completely out of your passion and belief that you need to give back to the society.
You
That's
need to give
great.
back to society, and I thought that this is something where I can make a difference, and that's why I chose to be a magistrate.
That's great indeed, Ninath. Anupama, you've been involved in so many different types of extracurricular activities. How did you go about deciding what you wanted to do as your beyond? Was it just based on your upbringing, or did you give it a second thoughts, let's say?
So Devavrat, I think whenever people say the word extracurricular, I always feel that I've never looked at these other activities as extracurricular. I've always felt that in order to develop all facets of your personality, all these things are important. So I don't consider any of these things as extracurricular. I think my medical career is equally as important to me as my theater, my singing, my writing, my charity work. So, yes, to an extent, my childhood has really shaped things that I have developed an interest in, or I have been given some, values by my parents. So, I'm incredibly lucky to have been born to parents who had such varied interests in their lives, and they inculcated them into us when we were growing up. But these things, theater, music, they give me positive energy. I mean, people ask me, how can you do so many things? How do you get the energy for it? And I think that the things that I do outside of my medical profession are things that actually give me energy. So, being, rehearsing for a play, or writing a play, or directing a play, even if you spend hours doing it, after those hours that you've spent, you feel energized, or I feel energized. I don't feel as if I have something has been taken out of me. I feel as if something has been given to me. Same singing, the Vrundagan, Bharati Vrundagan choir that I'm involved with. We have performed at many prestigious locations, all over UK and even in India. And just being part of that team and singing together, we sing in many Indian languages and even in Sanskrit. And the pleasure that it gives you, and the energy that it gives you, that is just something that you cannot measure, and it actually then has a positive impact on rest of your life. Also, getting involved in charities was a very conscious decision. I think we are all fortunate that we have the means. We've got a stability in life. We've come to a position in life where we don't have to worry about where our next meal is coming, or whether we have roof over our heads. So we are extremely lucky and privileged if you look at the whole world's population. I think that to be in that position, and to have come to that position, I think one has to look beyond, and one has to see, in whatever little way that we can contribute to this society around you, and to the society where we've come from. And in fact, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So wherever there is a need in this world, So just like Nitisha said, going out and just cleaning the street or cleaning the park or cleaning the beach, as we've got a very beautiful beach just 5 minutes from here. I think one should feel that as one's responsibility, and
Yeah,
feel that it's government's job or council's job, or because we are the people who are living in that space. So we have to make that space positive for us. So a lot of the things that and I mean, Ninad was talking about this organization, or the person that he wrote these scripts for and started comparing first. And I think that is something that Ninad and I have in common, that I also compared Ghazal Ka Safar and compared a few shows like Gulzar Baat Pashmine Ke with the same group. Again, doing something new and taking a new challenge, I think it gives you positivity.
Mm.
For example, when I was approached to go for the director of breast screening job, it came out of the blue, and I wasn't sure whether I was up for that huge responsibility. And but I have never shirked away from a challenge, and I think that is something very positive, that the positivity it brings into my life is that if I something comes in my way, I look at it as a challenge and something new to learn. And I think continuing to learn throughout your life and continuing to rise to challenges is what keeps you young. It is what
absolutely.
positive. It is what keeps you uh, absolutely enmeshed with life and positive. So I think everything that I've done has contributed to where I am today, I think.
Very, very well said there, Anupama. I absolutely agree with you. You have related well with Ninad's and Nitish's point earlier as well. We will talk a little more in a minute about how does it help your career, how does it energize you, and those aspects in a minute. But it is quite interesting to know your motivations behind the paths you've chosen. Surely, one of the key issues for anyone trying to spin so many plates at the same time would be achieving and maintaining the balance. So I want to explore that a little more, starting with you, Ninad, maybe. What were the key challenges you faced trying to achieve the balance between these different choices?
Well, the main challenges for me were my health. Okay, that did come in the way of deciding and to when to do things, how to do things, at what pace to do things. But having overcome that, it is possible to stand up again, to go back
Absolutely.
and begin things from from A, B, C, and restart. So balancing careers, my original career with magistracy never came up because I had retired from the medical profession. But my other interests like writing and comparing and singing and painting and things like that, they are enjoyment.
Mm.
They are not something that hinder your chosen second profession or second career as such. When I have to go to court, it's an entire day in court. So you get to meet so many. Of course, in these COVID times, things are completely different.
Yeah, yeah.
But otherwise, you meet so many people from so many different fields of life. People who are farmers, people who are truck drivers, people who are 18-year-old. An 18-year-old can become a magistrate in this country. So you get to meet those people and you get to talk to them. You get to understand what's going on in society. As Nitish probably said, we form ghettos, Marathi ghetto, Telugu ghetto, this ghetto, that. But the bigger society is always there around us, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So that is what you get from going into such such fields where you can contribute and gain. Arts, enjoyment, painting, singing, comparing, all those things are just enjoyment.
When you're enjoying things like that, the work doesn't remain a work, does it? It's just play and enjoyment.
Absolutely. I mean, even when I was writing show 100 Years of Bollywood, my friend and I, we used to have constant emailing back and forth of ideas. And, I would write a paragraph and he would say, oh, this is a very useless paragraph, write it again. So I used to write it again, but that was fun. That
Sure.
so so this is how you try and balance things in your career and your area of enjoyment.
Sure. Thank you for that, Neerath. Anupama, being a woman, I'm sure you would have faced some very unique challenges, balancing the needs of the career, the beyond activities that you spoke about earlier, and also the family. What are your experiences and what kept you going with beyond things? I think you're on mute, Anupama.
Sorry. I think one of the important principles that I live by is that that you cannot have it all at the same time. So you can have it all, but not all at the same time. And I think when you live by that principle, you learn to prioritize.
Yeah.
You say, okay, these are the important things in my life. At the moment, this is the priority. So the other 4 or 5 things, yes, they are not being forgotten about. They've just been put on the back burner.
Mm.
And when the time is right, you go and pick up things from that pot. So yes, of course, when when I got married and when I was expecting our daughter, I think I was on route to become a plastic surgeon. And at that point, when I discovered that I was carrying our daughter, I realized that I will not be able to give her enough attention and also do the very grueling training that would be required. So it was a very conscious decision. While being a plastic surgeon was the aim of my medical career, when I went into the medical school, that was my aim. So at that point, I very naturally and very graciously, there was absolutely no, negativity about it whatsoever. I decided that no, my prime responsibility now is to my child.
Mm.
And I decided that I'm going to give that dream up. I'd already got a position at Sion Hospital in Mumbai, but I gave that up. And I then took a job in a government hospital where my hours were a bit lenient and I could look after my daughter. Obviously, my parents were took the majority of the childcare burden, but I was there in my daughter's life throughout. So so those were the years where my daughter and our family was the priority, but always knowing that I have not given up on other things.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go back to them. So this is what I believe in, that if you and your partner, if you have that understanding, so husband and wife, this is a joint venture, okay, and in any joint venture there has to be compromise, otherwise it can't be a joint venture. So when you enter into a joint venture, if your partner and you are both have the same understanding, the understanding for me was in the beginning, it will be my turn to compromise, where my husband will sort of will not be having the same burdens of motherhood, etc., will go on and flourish.
Yeah.
Then when my time comes, he takes a back seat and allows me to flourish.
Goes into supporting role. Yeah.
So we've always had this understanding, and I think that helps when you've got a partner who realizes that that you have potential, you have dreams, and allows you to flourish. And I always compare it with going on a long drive. So husband and wife going on a long drive.
Mm.
The husband takes the wheel and says, okay, 4 hours afterwards, you take the wheel and I'll take some rest. So you share that. So somebody's in the driving seat for a little while, and then this other person goes into the driving. So I always feel that balancing has been comparatively easy for me, because I have this way of compartmentalizing and prioritizing. Also, I think that I have a way of time management, which is a very strict way of time management, in that when I'm at work, I'm fully at work, but when I'm out of work, I don't bring work at home. And then my time away from work is my precious time, which I'll then divide into the neat little boxes of, this is for Northwest Marathi Association this day, this is from my Milap social organization, this is for my Marathi classes, this is for my singing, this is for my meditation. So then I have these neat little boxes that, my days are divided into.
One thing at a time.
Yeah, so I think it takes some discipline, and it takes some very high level of time management, which you learn, I think, over time.
Surely, with prioritizing and compartmentalizing with the way you just described, it will become slightly easier, I suspect. Nitish, what are your strategies for achieving the balance between a very busy professional career and a very demanding public service?
Basically, the principles remain the same. What both of them have said: a very good time management and a nice partner. Fortunately, in UK, everything is planned well in advance, at least 4 to 6 weeks. So you have to have an efficient diary management services. It can be in form of an online diary, Google Calendar, your notebook. But then switch off and switch on is very, what I would say, is essential. And I like Anupama's example or analogy of long drive, husband and wife take turns in driving.
Absolutely.
Anupama, with your permission, I'll be using it somewhere else as well. It's a fantastic one.
And me.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
basically what happens is having an understanding partner is very, very, very vital for any person's extracurricular activities, especially if it's demanding. I've been fortunate that my colleagues are understanding that I've kept two things separately. My work is in Birmingham, my politics is in Birmingham, and my work is in Stoke-on-Trent. Because no matter what you say, if it gets mixed, then it can always cause misunderstandings or it can cause problems. So my work colleague knows that I am a counselor, my counselor colleagues and everybody else knows I am a consultant gynecologist, and that's it. That's where it ends basically. Yes, there are times where I shake hands, they said, oh, this is a politician's handshake. Or if I say something from the close to the heart, they say, oh, there you go, politician speaking. But that ends there. That ends there. Regarding when I come out, yes, that time belongs to my family. And we spend quality times with the whole family. So my son, my daughter, I remember when I first was going out for leaflet distributing, my daughter who was 6 at that time. She didn't know what we are doing, but she just joined me because she wanted to be with me. And then she says, are we distributing Santa? It was nearing Christmas, Santa's gift to everybody. I said, yes, we are just helping Santa on this occasion. And my son, I think I've been fortunate enough that my son also shares the same vision. So whenever we go out on any activity, we take the whole family. So it becomes like a family outing rather than me going away from the family. And just in case if they are getting bored or if they are not required over that event, then they go and visit the local friends who are there. I go attend the meeting, go back to the friends, have a cup of tea. So that way social life is also increased, family, the journey, we enjoy the journey basically. So that's how I've managed so far. So good, touch wood. Let's hope I'm able to manage it further as well.
I think it is quite coherent with what has been said earlier. You talked about compartmentalizing there as well, and what Ninad mentioned earlier about enjoying what you're doing. That work doesn't remain work really, which is quite important. So thank you all for sharing those tips for managing the balance, which I'm sure. Sorry, Ninad. Yeah, absolutely.
Something?
Sure.
Both of these distinguished people have mentioned their partners, so it would be amiss if I don't mention mine, who has been a real rock in my life. Through all my medical problems, through everything that has happened to me, through my career and everything, she has been there by my side. And also, my daughter, who is a lawyer, and my son-in-law, they too have been, tremendous support for me. And now my grandchildren, who I just enjoy. And so family is very important. I can't be as organized as these people because I'm 62, so it's a little bit difficult. But I try to do things whenever they are required to be done. So I meet my deadlines, hopefully. But I just wanted to mention.
To be as successful as you all are, obviously you do need that support structure around you, whether it is from your partner or whether it is from your kids. You absolutely need that. Nitish, you wanted to add something?
Yes, something I forgot. One of the most important person as well. At the age of 67, my mother, she was coming out campaigning with me. She was going out leafleting, and I would say, "Bas, enough now." I said, "No, just one more road, and we should be fine. Let's take a break after that." So she was definitely an inspiring, what I would say, Murad for me.
That's amazing and quite inspirational indeed.
Yes.
I'm sure our audience would have found all the tips that you're sharing with us as useful as they are as well. So in spite of some of the challenges that we spoke about earlier, and we touched on this point earlier about the beyond activities helping you with your career thing as well. So let's explore that a little bit more, because I think there is quite a bit mutual benefit between the stuff that you're doing as beyond as well as your career. Anupama, what lessons did you bring to your career from your experiences in your beyond activities?
I think, like I mentioned earlier, these things, they all kind of feed into each other, because, there are different facets of your personality. And though you compartmentalize when you're doing a certain thing, you are the person, and you're bringing all of you when you're working, or you're bringing all of you when you're performing. So I think the most important thing that my beyond activities have given to my professional career is my public speaking, my confidence, my ability to take challenges, my ability to take calculated risks, my ability to, put my 100% in what I'm doing. And, so I think it's a mindset you develop if you, of mindset of, doing your best and wanting to excel. Whether you reach the heights that you want to or not is a different matter, but putting in your 100% in every little thing you do, even when you're doing documentation in the case notes, whether you're doing it, you're doing it in a particular manner, if your thoroughness in it, my thoroughness in my job, I think is something that, is reflected from my thoroughness in, the cultural activities and other things that I do in my life. And I always want to bring my A game and want to do my best. And, I'm not somebody who thinks how much time I'm spending and how much it is worth. So if I'm doing a 5-minute performance, I don't think, oh, it's only a 5-minute performance, I don't want to spend 2 hours preparing for it. The time factor is completely irrelevant. If I want to do my best in those 5 minutes, if it takes me 5 days to feel as if I am now at that ability to give that 5-minute performance well, I will put 5 days. I will put 5 weeks. I'm working on a presentation at the moment, for a conference, and I've been working on it for 2 weeks and I'm still not happy. It's a talk that will come and go. It will not be recorded. Nobody will remember it the next day. But I'm not happy, and I will put as much time as I need.
You have to give your best every time.
So I think that is a habit that you develop in, in whichever aspect of your life that you're working in, whether it's your profession, whether it's a theater performance, whether it's writing something, writing a piece, whether whether you're comparing a show. I write pages and pages and pages of notes when I'm comparing a show. I've written scripts, very similar to Ninad. In fact, Ninad's and my hobbies and likes are very, very
Quite, yeah.
He's a very kindred spirit. I feel very close to him in that respect.
You.
So writing scripts, writing, researching, your favorite things. Like I wrote a script about Lata and Asha, musical script, and putting your best in everything. I think that is what feeds from both the beyond into the profession and from the profession into the beyond. But I think the confidence, I would certainly say, I think if you were to ask my colleagues about, describing me in one word, and then I think confident is the word that most people will use. And I think that confidence comes from, from performing, being on stage, being there, speaking, addressing people. So.
Thank you, Anupam. I think that's again quite consistent with what Nitish said as well earlier about trying, and if you try and fail, that's okay. But if you don't try at all, that's criminal, as Nitish said it earlier. So it's absolutely right. Nitish, talking to you about it, do you think your choices of the beyond and the career itself, they're complementary?
I don't know how should I say this, because as I mentioned previously, I've kept it separate to the best of my abilities. because sometimes it can get messy. Currently, I'm very benign, very low profile, small fish in a big pond, so it doesn't make a difference. But I don't know. So I've kept it as separate as I can. As I said previously, that my colleagues know that I'm a counselor. My counselors know I'm a doctor. Regarding any professional help in careers, answer is no. But yes, my extracurricular, or sorry, my hobbies or my extra work beyond work gives me that energy which I feed back either into home or into the profession. And that helps us explore more options. Like I've done my master's in medical education as well. So over there, going for GMC, devising exams, changing, I think doing extra work increases a person's ability, and that ability gets reflected everywhere. If I didn't do any of this, I would still be a consultant. I would still have my private practice, but that would end there. So for me to be able to continuously progress, bring on some more more what money raising. So I think it comes as a package. Second thing is, initially I used to get very upset that NHS we waste a lot of. We could be more efficient while working in NHS. But then I started working in council. I realized that big organizations have got a very tunnel vision for betterment. So I realized that NHS is indeed very efficient as compared to the what I would say the government work that goes on. And regarding over here, while elections, they just I think I've got a better what I would say. I don't know the exact word, but people trust me more because I'm a doctor. One of the voters said that don't worry, I will vote for you because you are a doctor. If you do anything before we can find out, the GMC will be after you. So don't worry, we trust you. So that was that's what it is. So yeah.
That's fascinating as well. Thank you for that again, Nitishji.
Yeah.
Ninad, obviously you mentioned earlier that your beyond activities started kind of after your retirement from your professional career. But do you think you brought in quite some key lessons from your career into your beyond activities?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, as a doctor, I've been asked to speak a little bit louder, so I will. I'm sorry that my voice wasn't that good. So, as a doctor, first of all, uh, you get to get bias out of your thinking. That means you treat a patient, as a person. Okay, you don't look at how the person looks, which strata he has come from,
Yeah.
what caste, creed, whatever color, etc., etc. It's exactly the same with the magistracy. Because whoever comes in front of you, you have to make your judgment upon the evidence that is put in front of you, and not on how the person looks, which strata he has come from, whether he can speak properly, whether he has got any solicitor, whether he's got anything else. So those things, other than those principles that are in the equality law, the UK equality law, that age, you can't discriminate on age, sex, your sexual orientation, and all those things. These are personal things. So when you sit on that bench, and when somebody comes in front of you, you have to do it completely without bias. Another thing, my medical education has helped in quite a few cases. I'll just give you one case. There was this lady, you know that education in the UK is compulsory till the age of 16. And if the child does not go to school, the parents can be taken to court by the local authority, and they can be fined. They can be even jailed. So we had a lady who was brought to court by the local authority for not having sent her daughter to school till from the age of 13 till the daughter was 16. Now the daughter was already 16; she had crossed that age, but the local authority still felt, in their wisdom, that they could bring that case to court. This lady had nobody to represent her. You know, she was from a lower strata, but She was telling us that my daughter was, I used to take her to school, but she did not want to remain in school. She just used to run away from school. And I used to do that day in and day out. So then we asked her, what was the reason? Was there any reason as such? So she said, I have got a certificate with me. My daughter was analyzed by a psychologist and she was diagnosed to be severely autistic,
Okay.
right? Now, with that certificate, how does the local authority expect the mother to take ownership of this child and send her compulsory to a school? She was not, after that analysis, she was not seen in the NHS. She was not looked after by the local authority. So they had failed her.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So we had to find for the woman.
Hmm.
So we went against the local authority. That it's not the woman's fault, it's your fault. Once she has produced this certificate that the child is autistic, you have to look into it.
Hmm.
So similarly, empathy. Empathy is one thing that comes from being a medical professional. We had a guy who was, a homeless guy. He had gone into a police station and he had told the police over there at night that he has got a nuclear bomb in his pocket, right? Now, obviously, you can't have a nuclear bomb in your pocket. But because he had made that statement, the police, why did he say that? Why must he have said that? Because he would then be put into jail in police custody. He would get something hot to eat and he would get a place to stay. He would get a roof over his head. Probably that was the reason. So he came in front of us. We had to ask him a lot of questions. And then we came to a conclusion that, this guy is not right in his mind. He needs to be analyzed.
Yeah, yeah.
He needs to go to a doctor. He doesn't need to go into jail because obviously nobody can carry such a bomb in their pocket.
Yeah.
So these are some things that we bring from our original profession into whatever we are doing now.
So you have to keep your biases away and you have to look for the facts and data.
Absolutely.
You have to dig deep rather than just looking at the superficial evidence.
Absolutely,
Really.
and more, and we sit three as a bench of three, and there are now people, when they have known that I am a doctor or used to be a doctor, when there is a medical problem, they ask me. They turn to me, though I am not a chairman. There is a chairman in the center, and there are two wingers. We all carry equal weight, but the chairman has got the right to speak. But they ask you, what should we do? There was a lady who had said, I cannot attend court because I've got pain in my leg. Now, she had produced a certificate of saying that she had got sciatica. So my chairman asked me, Nina, is this enough for her not to attend court? I said, no, not at all. She can take some painkillers. She can come on a wheelchair if she wants to. She can attend court. So
those are quite interesting cases, Ninath, absolutely, and it changes your viewpoint of thinking and looking at the things. It's quite eye-opening, really, at least for me. The last topic I want to cover for today's discussion is about the advice you panelists will share with our audience today. Nitish, what are the key lessons you have learned on your journey that you would want to share with us today?
I have learned that it's very easy for the whole community to come together. As an individual, yes, we may be able to contribute little to the community and the society, but if we come together, it becomes a big force to reckon with, which can be used for good because we are inherently good by nature, our values, our cultures. For those people who are interested to not sure whether politics is meant for us, you can start with as little as just sitting from the comfort of your home and making a phone call, or would you watch your, and like a survey, to going right up until the top to become the chancellor of United Kingdom, so, or even the prime minister next. So whatever it is there, it's there various stages. So please always follow your passion, follow your hobbies, dreams, and your potentials increase. As Anupama said, they keep on increasing. You get strength from them to be able to go further. And Devrat, on a separate note, I'm really impressed with your hosting of the event. It's really nice. That's all
Thank
from
you.
me. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitish. Thank you very much. Ninad, going back to you on your journey as well, what do you think went well? What could have gone for you better that you can share with us as a lessons for our audience?
Well, probably my health. But then that aside, I think my journey has been good enough. I've enjoyed my journey.
That's most important.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm nobody to give anybody a message as such, but a suggestion is that you need to give back to the society that you live in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in whatever way, be it as a counselor, be it as cleaning a beach, be it a part of an organization like Quest, you have to do something to give back to the society.
And there are so many ways of doing
And there
it,
are so
isn't it?
many ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Magistracy is just one way, and it's one of the most important ways of giving back to society, because you have got the power of deciding over another human being's future.
Mm.
Yeah, and if you have got the and you when you make the right decision, it feels very good. Keeping people out of jail feels good to me.
Absolutely.
And putting bad people into jail feels good to me as well.
Equally
Because
important.
that then serves society. You see? So I would encourage people to think about the magistracy. If they have any questions about how to enter it, how to go about applying, I'm open. We've got my email address, my telephone number. People
Sure.
can contact me, and I'll explain to them.
We will be sharing the contact details of our panelists in the chat window very soon. Last question for you, Anupama. What are the key pieces of advice you would want to share with our audience today?
Okay, thank you very much. I wouldn't call it advice. I would just call it tips. I just call it sharing between friends. We can all help each other and all grow together. So I think my tips from my experience, I think I'll outline 3 of them very briefly. I think one is that not to be in a hurry. I found it, one of the key things that has helped me shape whatever I have done with my life till now, that, you don't have to be on a motorway to go from A to B. You can be on A road or a B road. And I think sometimes, going on an A road or a B road gives you more time to enjoy your surroundings. Maybe, stop and look at a sunset, or look at a lake, sit by a lake. So you don't have to be, yes, sometimes you have to be on a motorway, but sometimes having a long-winded way to get where you want to go, there's nothing wrong with it. That is one lesson that I have learned in my life.
Life is a journey rather than a destination, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Second thing I would say is about positivity, bringing positivity in life. I think this has been very important to me as well. I have had to learn it the hard way. So, getting engaged in positive things, being around positive people, and creating positive situations is something that you have to do consciously. So if you find that a person, a situation, or an activity is bringing negativity in your life, I think to protect yourself, you have to walk away.
Yeah.
And you have to make a conscious decision of doing that without creating any bitterness. Just walk away. And by doing that, you open up more space in your life for more positivity to enter. So I think focusing on what bring your energies down and keeping those things out very consciously, and only doing things as far as possible that increase your energy is the third thing, that second thing that I would say has helped me in my life. And I really work by that principle, because at some stage when you're involved in a lot of things, you start getting some negativity from certain quarters, and it can sometimes bring you down. And if you focus too much on it, it takes you away from doing those things that you enjoy. So by keeping that out, you can be more positive in your life. So that was the second thing I thought that I live my life by. And I think the third thing that I have always lived by is following your passions and learning and growing throughout your life. Age is not an important factor. I always believed in that age is a number, and really, your mind is so powerful that wherever your mind goes, your body will follow.
Yeah.
My father did PhD in his 60s. I have that kind of that kind of example in front of me, and I never think of how old I am and whether I'll be able to do this. And I think keeping your body in a good shape, focusing on health, focusing on exercise, focusing on things like meditation, keeping yourself in good shape, spiritually as well. I think spiritual dimension is very, very important in my life. So looking after your body and your mind and also your spirit, I think that these are the three things I would say, not advice but just tips from me.
Thank you very much for that, Anupama. I think Nitish, you want to add something?
Devrat, just got a couple of WhatsApp messages how to enter. Can you give us some advice about politics and how to start? So if anybody is interested in putting their toe in the water called politics, please feel free to contact me, WhatsApp me or email me. Okay, that's all I wanted to say on the group. So I will be contacting them individually, but yes, please feel free to do that.
Thank you, Nitish. Now, in normal circumstances, if we were physically in a room, I'm certain every answer this afternoon would have received a long and loud applause. And we would have loved to go on with that conversation for a lot longer. But unfortunately, we are bound by time. Nevertheless, thank you all for what you've shared with us today. And I'm sure this conversation would have inspired many of the audience to explore beyond career as much as it has inspired me. And hence, I think some of our audience will also like to ask some specific question to our panels. So I'll take a few questions. Again, we are bound by time, so I can't take every one of the question. The first question that has come through is for Anupama. How do you pack so much in your day? Where do you find time? Does introspection and self-reflection help?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think the spiritual dimension is very, very, very important. I mean, I started sort of working on sort of self-reflection and spiritual pursuits probably about 25 years ago. And I think that is one area that actually keeps me grounded, keeps me stable. And I think when your mind is stable, you can get a lot more out of your day than if your mind was very distracted or was very agitated with different things. So I think spirituality, self-reflection, spirituality can mean different things to different people, and and I have my own interpretation of it, and I don't want to go into that. But that dimension is an extremely important part of my life. Extremely, it has seen me through some very difficult times as well. So I think that is what I would answer.
I think the importance of mental health cannot be overstated, really. We all are coming across, especially these days, about increasing awareness of the mental health. I think that's exactly what you're referring to as well, Anupama. Then the next question is from Manjiri. Nitish, if you've been incredibly successful in your journey, what would you tell your own 20-year-old self? Would you leave the next decade the same way?
Of course, I would. As Manjiri said, life is a journey. You enjoy that journey. It's not. It's like a marathon. So enjoy that the whole process. It's not a sprint where you achieve a goal and it's done. Yes, I would live it exactly the same way with all the same experiences that makes a person become what it is. If I have to do anything differently, answer is no. I'll still be born with the same parents, will be having the same partner and same colleagues, including all of you. So yes. So I would live the decade the same way and just go with the flow. That's always been my motto. I don't plan anything, just go with the flow. Don't say no to anything.
A very interesting question there, Manjiri. So thanks for asking that, and very interesting, equally interesting answer from you as well, Nitish. So thank you for that as well. One more question coming from Shraddha. Ninad, are there any minimum number of hours that one needs to fulfill as a magistrate?
Yeah, there are 13 full days in a year. That's the minimum requirement, and that's all. That's just 1 day a month. So generally, it's they say that it's 26 half days, but that boils down to 13 full days. So that's all that you have to commit to. But once you have committed to it, you have to maintain that commitment.
Yeah.
Because if you fall short, then it is not good. Yeah, it's you're going back on whatever you have volunteered for. You're going back on that, and that's not a good thing to do. So you have to make sure that if you're working, then your employers will be able to give you that time off. They are required by law to give you that time off. Now, payment wise, if they are also required to pay you for those days. But if they don't pay you, then you can claim that from the CTS, which is the Her Majesty's Courts and Tribunal Services, which run all the courts in the UK. So you can claim that amount as well. So it's just 13 days and you don't lose anything.
Sure. Clearly, Ninad, you have also inspired and motivated some interest in some of our audiences today. Clearly, some people have started exploring how to become a magistrate. So thank you for sharing those inspiring experiences and your story. Unfortunately, that's all the questions we can take today. That's all the time we had for today. In case you have not been able to join us from the beginning or would like to revisit any of the topics covered today, a recorded version of this webinar will be made available in a week's time on OMPIG's YouTube channel. Once again, OMPIG stands for Overseas Maharashtrian Professionals and Entrepreneurs Group, a community-based business networking group which was founded in April 2016 by leading influencers and entrepreneurs within the UK. The idea was to inculcate a spirit of entrepreneurship within the Maharashtrian community, specifically from UK, to connect professionals and encourage them for entrepreneurship. If you want to know more about OMPIG, please visit our website, ompig.org.uk. If you wish to become OMPIG member, we'll put the details in the chat window. Anupama, I think you want to add something?
Just wanted to say one thing, and I would it would be a very bad on my part if I didn't do it.
Sure.
A lot of friends have made time to come and watch this today. And I want to say a sincere thanks from the bottom of my heart, because without my friends, my life is incomplete. And you being here today means a lot to me. So thank you very much to all my friends, and all of you who have joined here today. Thank you so much.
I echo your thoughts, Anupama. I echo your.
Me too. Without the hashtag.
We spoke. We spoke about the support structure earlier, and friends are invariably a key part of that support structure. So absolutely. A very quick note about the next events. First one of which is on Sunday, 7th of March, 4 p.m. It will be a member event by Renuka Fadke from VR Mortgages. The details of the event will be out soon. Please also block the date of 13th of March for OMPIG Pathfinder series. Last year, OMPIG launched its flagship conversation series, which builds conversations on topics that matter with a panel of OMPIG members and experts from diverse fields. So please block Saturday, 13th of March, 3 p.m. in your calendars. We have an interesting topic and a diverse panel coming to you soon. All the details, including the booking, will be out very soon. Also, for many future events lined up, please visit OMPIG website and events page to register. Before we finished on the program, I just want to wish Anupama a very happy birthday. Today is her birthday, so we wish you a very, very happy birthday on behalf of the whole OMPIG family and everybody that's joined us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Finally, I would like to take the opportunity to convey our special thanks to our panel. for taking out the time from their busy schedule and sharing interesting and very, very inspiring stories, which I'm sure would motivate many people to start their journeys beyond their careers.